different from the one we've come to know. There is a continent that hosts lush palm trees and luscious forests. The world is also full of fleets of pirates that roam the coast. Even though some of the lands are places where one could catch a break from the world, it is also filled with irresistible treasures that could fulfill one's deepest desires. As you could expect, these treasures often cause conflict amongst those in pursuit. Could any of these lucky adventurers find where X marks the spot? Well, now's your chance to find out. Welcome to Power Rangers 7 Seas. In the colony of Seton, which is located on the western shore of the continent, sits Davies, a bar that is decorated like the taverns of the past with its wooden stools, beige walls, and glass containers that contain some of the finest drinks one could consume. A pale-skinned, older Caucasian gentleman with gray hair dressed in a black silk shirt and red breeches walks over to a young man of African descent with dreaded hair, dressed in a white silk shirt and black breeches with buckled shoes. The younger man then asks the older man,
Davy, do you ever just think to yourself, what's out there in the rest of the world?
Davy, as he's cleaning a cup, retorts,
Van, I used to, but then I saw what type of people came in here and changed my mind.
Van replies,
You're right, but you have to think about it. There are treasures out there that can change the rest of our lives.
Davy persists.
This bar is my treasure.
Van replies,
If you consider this treasure, then your standards must be low.
Davy snaps back.
Pipe down about my bar. Now, do you want another drink or not?
Van says,
Yeah, I have another Bloody Mary.
Davy exclaims,
If you call that a good drink, then your standards are way lower than mine of this bar.
Van replies,
Are you going to give me another drink or not?
Davy chuckles and says,
It's coming right up.
Afterward, while Van is scanning the bar, he spots a chubby man dressed in a crimson jacket, breeches, and silk shirt, and sporting a brown ponytail, a long beard, and a peg leg. The man looks at a woman and asks,
Will you accompany me to my ship tonight?
She snaps and replies,
Thanks for the drinks, but I'm not one of the harlots you hear about who sleeps with every captain in the 7 seas. My answer is no.
The man then says,
I think you should change your tone with me. I am one of the best captains the side of the seas has ever seen.
He then grabs her arm and she pleads.
Get your hands off me.
Davy then commands.
Seamus, leave her be.
Seamus barks.
Shut up, barkeep. This doesn't concern you.
And Van looks and ponders on what he should do and stands up with a stern demeanor and exclaims,
You heard her. Leave her alone.
Seamus then says,
What are you going to do?
And Van retorts,
I'm going to turn you into the laughingstock of the sea if you don't let her go.
Shortly after, Seamus taunts them and commands,
Men, let's show them what happens when you confront us.
And 4 other men walk up. Van replies,
You talk too much.
and takes the first blow. As Seamus falls back, his crew comes over to attack Van. Van sighs and mutters,
Oh man.
and Van then dodges the punch incoming from one of the men and kicks the other. Van sarcastically retorts,
If you guys are supposed to be one of the best, then I'm disappointed.
Outside the bar, Two men who appear to be in their mid-20s are walking towards the entrance, and both are of Caucasian descent. One sports a short brunette hairstyle with an eye patch and is dressed in a blue silk shirt, black breeches, along with buckled shoes and a blue pirate-style jacket covering him, while the other has a bald head with a bushy beard and is dressed in a bright red version of the jacket, red shirt, breeches, and the same shoes. The man in red says,
"Barlow, I sure could go for a drink. That last voyage we went on took a lot out of me."
And the man in blue replies,
Rogue, I agree. But don't get drunk. Remember, we have to be in Cayman tomorrow.
Rogue retorts,
"I'll do my best not to."
and the two walk in and see the disorder that has erupted in the bar. Seamus's crew surrounds Van. Van says,
I can do this all day.
As he tries to strike another blow, he is overpowered and outnumbered by Seamus's men. As Van has been pinned to the ground by Seamus and his men, Seamus says,
Any last words before I send you to your maker?
After that, Van shouts,
Go to hell.
And Seamus goes to pull his blade, but he is interrupted by Rogue. Rogue interjects,
"Seamus, let the kid go."
But Seamus argues,
Yeah, he decided to insert himself in my business, and he will pay the price.
Rogue insists,
"I don't care what business you got. Let him walk."
Seamus then asks,
Who do you think you are? You think just because everybody fears you, gang, I do. Go and prance around in your colors before we have a problem.
Immediately after that, Rogue says,
"Barlow, he says we're going to have a problem. Show him how we deal with those."
Next, Barlow takes out his blunderbuss and shoots two men down, while Van looks on in amazement and says,
Well, damn.
Rogue asks,
"Do you want me to make an issue about this?"
And the last one of Seamus's men, overcome with fear, exclaims,
Captain, I think we should leave.
Seamus then stands up and says,
I don't have time for this. I'll leave for now. But if he looks at me wrong, he won't be so lucky next time.
And Van replies,
As long as you're leaving, that's good enough for me.
Following that, Seamus scowls at him and leaves. Barlow then helped Van up and asked,
What the hell happened in here? Why would you pick a fight with them?
The woman from earlier walks up and answers.
He saved me. That bastard was forcing himself on me.
Rogue then shouts.
"What?"
And Van replies.
Yeah, the bastard was trying to have his way with her.
Expeditiously, Rogue balls his fists up and bolts toward the door. And Barlow mutters.
Oh no, he's riled up.
Rogue then looks for Seamus's ship and exclaims.
"Damn it, he's gone."
Barlow then walks up and retorts.
Don't worry. This world is small. We'll run into him again.
Rogue says.
"He better hope we don't."
Barlow chimes in and retorts.
She's okay. That's all that matters.
Rogue nods his head and mutters.
"Yeah, we have drinks to be getting to."
The two then go back into the building. As they sit down, Davy says,
Here's your 2 grogs on the house.
Rogue replies.
"We appreciate it."
Afterward, Van asks,
So, what are you gonna do with those guys who got shot?
and Davy answers.
In this business, kid, you got to know a thing or two about getting rid of bodies. I've got this handle.
Van sits next to the two and nervously says,
You guys didn't have to do what you did back there. I had it handled.
Rogue replies.
"From my view, it looks like you didn't. So we stepped in before your body would be thrown off the shore."
Van retorts.
Whatever. So where did the other guy learn to shoot a gun so precisely like that? I've only heard about one guy in the whole world who could do that.
Rogue, annoyed, answers by asking,
You're not very smart, are you?
Van then says,
You guys can't be the Redbeard Pirates.
and Rogue retorts,
Look, kid, we respect that you stood up for the lady, but we don't want to be bothered right now. Could you leave us to our drinks?
Van commands.
I will, but you have to answer my question.
Rogue chuckles and responds.
What is it?
Van then pleads,
Can I join your crew?
and Rogue mutters,
Just because you got a few lucky shots in on Seamus and his crew doesn't mean you're fit to join us.
Van exclaims.
Come on, man. At least give me a chance to show my worth.
Barlow chimes in and retorts,
You should be fair. Just because it doesn't seem like he can hang with us, doesn't mean you should deny him a chance.
Rogue says,
Kid, are you sure you want this? The initiation is tough. We've had offers before, but they failed it.
and Van answers,
I'm sure. I can't wait to see the look on your face when I prove you wrong.
Rogue replies,
Or you'll fail, and I'll say I told you so. If you want your chance, meet us by our ship in a few hours.
Van then looks at him with a face of excitement and says,
Alright, Captain.
As time passes, Van sees a medium-sized brown and red pirate ship displaying flags depicting skulls and crossbones with a red beard wrapped around it. Van exclaims,
Wow. So this is the Orion. Looks just how I imagined it.
Rogue replies,
Yes, but that isn't where your initiation will be.
and Van mutters.
Then why would you tell me to meet you here?
Rogue says,
I just wanted to give you a sneak peek and some motivation.
Van asks.
Alright, so where does it start?
Barlow then points over to a nearby field, and the three walk over to the field. Rogue exclaims,
So, the objective is to get the treasure on the other side of the field where the chest is. It is filled with diamonds we found in Blackwater Cove.
Van replies.
That's easy. How could anybody fail that?
Rogue then retorts.
You'll have to get past me first.
Rogue then hands Van one of his cutlasses. Van says,
So all I have to do is find a way to retrieve the treasure. It sounds like a bit of a challenge, but I think I can do it.
Barlow replies,
Yeah, but I must let you know, getting past him won't be easy.
Rogue stands in front of the treasure box and Barlow shouts.
Begin.
Van replies,
I didn't come this far for nothing.
and charges toward Rogue with voracity. Rogue then asks,
Why do they always think that's the answer?
as Van waves the cutlass at Rogue, he holds it with his blade. Rogue retorts.
You'll have to be faster than that to beat me.
Van then retorts.
Whatever.
The fight escalates as their swords clash. Van says,
You're good, but I'm still gonna get through this.
and Rogue responds,
Don't get beside yourself.
and does a leg sweep while readying his cutlass and pressing it against Van's chest after he falls on the ground. Afterward, Rogue says,
You failed.
and Van retorts.
No, I didn't. You underestimated me.
Van then kicks Rogue in the groin and Rogue falls to the ground in pain. Rogue yells,
Gah! You son of a bitch, you got me good.
and after getting up, Van grabs the chest and replies.
Told you I was gonna get it.
Next, he opens the chest with an enthusiastic look on his face, until he sees what's in there. Van says,
This isn't gold, jewelry, or a long-lost artifact. There's nothing in here.
Barlow Barlow retorts.
You thought we just gave away our treasure to a stranger?
Following that, Van, with uncertainty, says,
Well, kind of.
Rogue stands back up and says,
I should kick you out some more for that. But you did get the treasure and played by the pirate rules.
Van replies,
What are the rules?
Rogue answers,
There are no rules.
and Van retorts,
Well, why did you guys save me if you don't live by any rules?
Barlow then says,
Just because we don't live by rules doesn't mean we're heartless.
and Rogue adds,
Yeah, what he said. Now come on and follow us to the ship.
Van replies,
Aye, aye, Captain.
and Barlow retorts,
Word of advice, don't ever say that again.
Van then mutters.
I thought that's how you guys talk.
Meanwhile, Rogue says,
You've got a lot to learn, man.
The three then depart onto the ship, and Van says,
Wow, looking at and being on this ship is two different things. I wonder how you guys rebuilt this thing. I thought it would be falling apart by now.
Rogue answers,
Let's just say that Redbeard made sure he stored it away in a safe place.
Van commands.
Tell me more about him. I've only heard legends about him.
Rogue replies.
In due time, you'll find out more.
Meanwhile, two middle-aged people of Caucasian descent, a man and a woman, then walk out from a room on the ship. The woman asks,
Rogue, who's your new friend?
Rogue then answers.
Yeah, Dad. And Mom, his name is Van.
The man then replies.
He must have passed the initiation.
And the woman adds.
Welcome aboard the Orion van. My name is Daria, and his name is Gallico. We take care of the ship.
Gallico then chimes in and interjects.
And we also brought one of the best captains into this world.
Rogue then says,
Dad, I don't think he wanted to know that. But you didn't say anything wrong at the same time.
Barlow then comes out with a red wooden treasure chest and opens it while Rogue expounds.
These are 5 of the 7 searches. As you've seen, these are compasses that turn us into Power Rangers. Before you reach there, I have to let you know that some of the voyages we go on are going to be dangerous.
As Van reaches his hands towards it, Rogue says,
Are you sure this is what you want?
Van replies,
I wouldn't have gone through what I did if I didn't. Which color am I going to be? Silver? Yellow? Orange?
Barlow then answers,
You don't choose the color. The compass, it chooses for you.
Van mutters,
That's not fair. It's been such a drag, and I haven't become a ranger yet.
and Rogue asks,
Does that mean you want to change your mind and turn back?
and then Van answers loudly.
No!
He grabs one of the compasses and excitedly asks,
Alright, let's see which one I am. So, how did I make this thing change me into a ranger, Cap?
Rogue then expounds,
You say 7 C's all aboard and rotate the bezel on it till it lands on the Redbeard's skull.
Afterward, Van nods his head and shouts,
7 C's, all aboard.
and turns the bezel on the compass towards the skull. He then goes into a morphing sequence in which he waves a flag with a Redbeard's skull on it around his body first, and afterward it manifests into a pink pirate-style Power Rangers suit, and then a ranger helmet forms around his face. Van retorts,
What? I'm the Pink Ranger? This has to be a mistake. Pink is my least favorite color.
Barlow then chuckles a bit and replies,
Oh, the compass makes no mistakes. Ever since me and Rogue have become rangers, our fortunes have changed.
And Rogue adds,
Yeah, that's just how it goes. Trust me, if we could choose, I would be blue and Barlow would be red.
And Van reluctantly agrees and retorts,
I guess I'll just have to deal with it.
and asks.
So where do we head next?
Afterward, Rogue gives him a pink pirate-style jacket and answers.
Wherever they lead us.
And the compasses then glow green. Van asks,
What does that mean?
and Rogue expounds.
When the compasses glow green, that means we have completed an objective. I guess recruiting you was it.
Van then says,
Cool.
while Barlow interjects.
Yeah, we're supposed to head towards the Cayman Islands.
Van then asks.
So what's our mission there?
Rogue, afterward, bewildered, looks at him and retorts.
We don't know yet. It could be to collect a piece of treasure, save people, or find our next crew members.
Van replies.
Interesting.
Next, Rogue asks.
So, do you have anything you'd like to do before we set sail?
Van, with sadness in his voice, replies.
Yeah.
Barlow replies.
Don't worry. We'll come back. Eventually.
And Van sighs and retorts.
Yeah.
3 days later, a journey across the 7 seas begins as our pirates set sail for another colony in search of treasure. While 2 of them are ready to move on to their next journey, 1 must leave something behind. In a neighborhood, in a small cottage-like home, an older man and woman of African descent walk up to Van. Van says,
Well, Aunt Sheila, Uncle Julius, I've decided I'm going to join the Redbeard Pirate Gang. I'm going to be the 7 Seas Pink Ranger.
Julius replies.
Interesting nephew. I hope you go on to be a legend.
Sheila then retorts.
I'm scared for you, but you are grown now and it's your decision. Just make sure you're safe and make it back to us in one piece.
And Van confidently retorts.
With the powers I have, Auntie, I'm not worried about not making it back.
She then looks at him with uncertainty and exclaims,
Don't underestimate the other pirates out there. They are ruthless. Also watch out for the Royal Navy. They are taking in any pirate they see.
Julius then adds,
Yeah, nephew, make sure you always have eyes behind your back and pay attention to your crew.
And Van, trying not to show the uncertainty in his mind, replies,
I will, guys. Don't worry.
while they all hug each other, and Van then heads for the door. As Van walks onto the ship and it sails off, he waves to them goodbye. Meanwhile, observing the situation, Barlow says,
I know, that must have been tough to say goodbye.
and Van responds,
Yeah, but I'm sure I'll see them again.
and Rogue jumps in and interjects.
Yeah, you sure will.
Van, afterward, says,
I still have questions, though. Okay, so these compasses choose people to become rangers. And there are 4 more?
Barlow says,
Correct. We have 2. One is lost, and the other is owned by the Emperor and Empress.
Van then asks,
Why don't we go after that one?
and Barlow retorts,
What? Are you stupid? The Royal Navy and the King and Queen protection is nothing to be played with, even with these powers. I don't know if we stand a chance.
Rogue then says,
Once we get a bigger crew and have a plan, that's when we will go after that compass. But for now, we are just focusing on the ones we have. Now let's get ready for our next voyage.
Van nods his head and exclaims.
Okay, Captain.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, in the port town of Capria, there lies the biggest town in Avalon, and the Emperor and Empress reign over it in their luxurious castle that is surrounded by some of the best architecture in the world. As guards stand at the gate, 2 men in their late 30s and an older woman stand a distance away, scoping out the area. One is a man who is 5'7" in height, skinny, has red curly hair, pitch black eyes, and is of Afro descent, dressed in a black silk shirt, breeches, and buckled shoes. The other has a scar on his face, and is Caucasian, tall, buff, bald, and has green eyes, dressed in the same attire, while the last is a petite woman of Afro descent, with brown eyes and dreadlocks, dressed in a 17th century style Gothic dress. The man with the scar says,
Junior, we've been waiting for days and still haven't found the right opening to get in.
Junior then replies,
Lazarus, this wasn't something that could be achieved within a day. This is one of the most unbreakable, inescapable prisons in the world.
The woman then retorts,
I don't care how long we wait. As long as we free my husband, that's all that matters.
And Lazarus then replies,
Miss Sybil, I hope we can make a move first.
Junior then says,
Mother, Lazarus, today shall finally be the day. The Emperor and Empress are away with the Royal Navy accompanying them. The only thing standing in our way are the castle guards. But they are nothing compared to us.
Lazarus says,
Finally.
And waves his blade. He then charges towards the guards and slices through their bodies before they can even react. Junior then throws out a metal ball, and it materializes into robots that are dressed like pirates. Junior exclaims,
Matoids, charge!
While Lazarus cuts through the gate that surrounds the castle lock. The guards on top of the castle then shoot their guns, but Lazarus throws his sword. It cuts through the bullets and spins in the air like a boomerang, and then slices the guards' guns. Junior then aims his pistol and shoots them down while the Matyards storm the castle. The sword then lands back in Lazarus's hand. Lazarus, Junior, and Sybil then enter the castle behind the Matyards, and as the guards charge toward them, Lazarus slices the bullets from their guns and pierces his swords through their armor, while Junior and Sybil shoot them down. The Matyards also follow them by shooting the cannons on their arms. As the guards fall to their deaths, one says,
Wait, don't shoot me. I can help you find what you're looking for.
Junior demands,
If you truly value your life, you will bring us to Damos.
The guard then asks,
Damos, why would you want to free him? He's one of the most dangerous criminals in here.
Junior then retorts,
He is no criminal. He is the one who should be remembered as a legend, not Redbeard. He is my father.
As Junior presses his gun to the guard's skull, the guard says,
He's right down the hall on your right.
And Lazarus stabs the guard in his chest. As Lazarus plunges his sword through their chests and kills them. Following the carnage, Junior says,
While not as impressive, the Royal Navy is sure to have been alerted. Let's move.
The three and the Matyards then run through the castle and take down the guards one by one, until they reach the area where Deimos' cell resides. The guards exclaim,
You will not make it past us. You might as well surrender to the Emperor and Empress right now.
Lazarus shouts,
If you think we came this far to give up, then you've lost your minds.
Junior then replies,
Precisely. Father's freedom is at hand.
And the leader of the guards retorts,
Find them.
As the guards charge them, Lazarus slices their guns in half. The guards, shocked, then pull their swords out. Meanwhile, Junior, the Mattiot, and Sybil raise their guns. Lazarus commands.
Don't shoot. Let me handle this. I like a good sword battle. You guys sit back and watch.
The two then nod their heads. As the guards leap towards Lazarus, he shows off his excellent swordsmanship as his blade clashes with several different guards and he manages to hold his own. Lazarus then stabs through their armor with his sword and he swiftly kills the guards, one by one. Lazarus exclaims,
"That was fun."
While he, along with Junior and Sybil, are running towards Deimos' cell, and Junior says,
Father, we have come to free you.
Lazarus then commands,
"Stand back!"
as he slices through the cell's lock. Deimos steps out and towers over everyone. He is muscular and has straight red hair, orange skin, and pitch-black eyes dressed in brown breeches with torn, buckled shoes on. Deimos, in amazement, exclaims,
Where'd you find this guy? He's resourceful.
Junior answers,
Let's just say I helped him find his purpose at a time when he was lost.
As Lazarus slices the handcuffs off Deimos, he exclaims,
Wait, son. If you're gonna establish yourself on the seven seas, you're gonna need a crew.
Afterwards, Deimos announces loudly,
If any prisoner would like to get out of here, pledge your allegiance to me and my crew, and ye will be freed.
The prison then roars, with prisoners pleading for their release. Deimos then says,
Swordsman, you know what to do.
And Lazarus replies,
Yes, Captain.
Back on the Orion, Van says,
So how did the compass get into the hands of the royal family?
Rogue expounds.
Years ago, the legendary Redbeard and Deimos were having one of the toughest battles in between their crews, and the two fought to a draw, with Redbeard dying on the scene, and Deimos clinging on with his last breath. Redbeard told his right-hand man to escape with the remaining compasses. He wanted to pass the powers on to the next crew because he lost the previous rangers in the battle. After his friend escaped, the Empire arrived on the scene and arrested some members of the crews along with Deimos, and they took his compass.
Van, confused, replies,
So you're telling me we're the new crew that will carry on his name?
And Rogue retorts,
Of course.
Van then rubs his chin and asks,
I have one more question.
After that, Rogue annoyedly mutters,
What, kid?
Van smiles and asks,
So why is the other one lost?
Rogue replies,
I don't know. That thing is so lost that Redbeard himself couldn't find it. That was one of the great treasures the original crew never discovered.
Van nods his head and retorts,
Oh, okay. My questions are answered.
Rogue then turns around and puts his hand on his face, and his dad then pulls him to the side. Galago says,
He sure has a lot of questions. He must be getting on your last nerve, son.
Daria replies,
Gallico, that kid has had to leave behind his family and start a new life. Don't you think you'd be questioning things too?
And adds,
Listen, son, a good captain must be understanding to his crew and make them feel comfortable.
Rogue then says,
Yes, Mom.
As the ship reaches Cayman's shore. Back in the castle, Deimos and the crew pillage the emperor's and empress's royal bedrooms looking for something. Lazarus then looks at the emperor's desk and sees a compartment. As he pulls it back, he sees a safe and grabs it. Lazarus says,
Whatever you're looking for has to be in here, Captain.
And Deimos retorts.
Aye, we'll see.
Lazarus then says,
Should I slice it open?
And Deimos replies,
No, ye must be fragile with this boy.
Deimos then grabs the safe and viciously rips the door off it with his brute strength. Junior then retorts,
Ah, yes, real fragile, father.
And Deimos grabs the item, and it appears to be a brown 7 searcher with a black outline. Deimos excitedly says,
Finally, I will become unstoppable again.
Yells.
7 seas, all aboard.
Afterward, a flag wraps itself around him and manifests into a black and brown-colored Power Ranger suit. Deimos then exclaims,
I feel whole again. I will have the world within my grasp.
Next he lets out a sinister laugh, and the suit then dissolves and fizzles out around his body. Junior asks,
Father, what just happened?
Deimos says,
It seems they must have drained the power from the compass somehow.
And Sybil replies,
Honey, don't worry. We'll find a way to get it back.
As she wraps her arms around him. Deimos then gets furious and screams,
I knew, dear, but I am the most powerful ranger on the 7 seas, and I can't even use...
Junior replies,
I may have a solution. The other compasses have been found by a new crew, naming themselves after Redbeards. Ugh. We could drain the power from their compasses in order to recharge yours.
Deimos then puts his hand on Junior's shoulder and replies,
That doesn't sound bad, but we find them.
Junior, with joy in his voice, says,
Word has spread they are heading for the Cayman Islands.
Deimos then says,
Then let's set sail for there. Everyone, let's go to the ship.
As the Orion reaches the shores of the Cayman Islands, Rogue says,
Before we go digging for treasure, let's go to the saloon for a couple of drinks.
Barlow sarcastically then retorts,
When don't you want to drink?
And Rogue retorts. Van then says,
A good drink couldn't hurt.
Barlow then sets his eyes on the island and says,
All right, but only a few. I'm not dragging either one of you out of the bar tonight.
Moments later, Rogue along with Van nod their heads in agreement, and the three then head towards the saloon. On their way, 2 women in their late teens also walk toward their destinations. One of the women is of Caucasian descent, has blonde, long hair, and is dressed in a green silk shirt along with black trousers, while the other is of African descent, has short black hair, and is dressed in a purple 17th century style blouse and black breeches. As they are all walking, Rogue bumps into one of the women, and their shoulders collide. The woman of African descent then looks up at him and says,
Hey, watch where you're going.
Rogue then retorts,
It was you who bumped into me, so you need to watch where you're going.
She then gets up and argues back.
I can already tell you're one of those pirate thugs, so I expect you not to have any manners.
Shortly after that, Rogue then says,
I suggest you get lost. I don't have time for your bullshit.
And she then knees Rogue in his groin. Rogue falls to the ground, and Barlow helps him up. Rogue exclaims,
Ugh. She's lucky she's a female, or she'd pay for that.
Van replies,
That must have hurt to be hit there again.
Rogue then says,
Kid, shut up.
As the woman walks off, she is encountered by another woman. She says,
Avis, what have you got into now?
Avis replies,
Nothing, Rose. Just another pirate jackass again.
And Rose retorts,
You've got to learn how to control your temper. One day you're going to get us into something we can't get out of.
Avis snarls and responds.
I doubt it. There's nothing I can't handle.
In the meantime, a pitch-black pirate ship with a flag displaying a dark skull appears on the shore. Deimos says,
I see you was right. I see the ship on the other side of the island.
Junior replies,
My sources know better than to lie to me, Father.
Deimos commands,
Okay, since there are 3 compasses already in use, I want you, Lazarus, and the crew to go after them and get them by any means necessary, while I go aboard and search the ship for the others.
Sybil then asks,
What am I in charge of?
Deimos then answers,
You will watch the ship.
while Deimos is headed toward the Orion and the rest of his crew are approaching the island. Meanwhile, as Junior and Lazarus head towards the island, people look in fear as they see the black skull on their ship. Junior snarls at them and exclaims,
Everyone calm yourselves. No one shall be hurt, so long as you cooperate.
And Lazarus interjects,
We are looking for the Redbeard Pirates. If you tell us where they are, I won't have to use my blade on you.
Coming from the other side of the island, Avis steps up and says,
What do you want with those pirate scums?
Rose, seeing the situation intensifying, grabs Avis's arm and commands,
Avis, just tell the man where they are and let's get away from this.
Avis then smirks at the opposing figures and replies,
No, these guys are looking for trouble. The only thing I'm gonna tell them is they need to turn around and leave these people alone.
Junior then says,
Just because you're a lady doesn't mean my man won't stain his sword with your blood.
Lazarus then grabs his sword. Rose tightens her grip on Avis's arm and retorts,
Avis, let's go. This isn't a time to try to be brave.
And Avis retorts,
Let me go. I said I'm not leaving.
In the meantime, as the struggle between the two women becomes more intense, Junior becomes aggravated and coldly says,
I grow tired of these two. Lazarus, destroy them.
Lazarus then lifts his sword and mutters,
Finally, your heads are mine.
Time begins to pass, and as Lazarus gets closer, Rose screams at the top of her lungs, and Rogue interjects,
Aye, why don't you leave the lady and gentleman alone?
Lazarus then looks at them and says,
I see more worthy opponents have arrived.
Afterward, Avis smirks again and replies,
There's nothing worthy about them.
Impressed by Rogue and the rest of the crew's appearance, Lazarus brushes Avis off and says,
Don't get too happy. After I'm done with him, you two are next.
Lazarus and Junior then walk toward Rogue, Van, and Barlow. Rogue says,
So the rumors are true. You guys are still around, and still are a bunch of failures.
And Lazarus retorts,
We're no longer that. We just helped Deimos escape.
After hearing the daunting statement, Rogue, with an inch of fear creeping into his heart, freezes in shock and retorts back,
You guys are lying. No one could take on the Royal Navy and live to tell the story.
And Van adds,
Yeah, not even the most dangerous in the sea could.
Lazarus argues,
You'll soon find out that I'm not lying. How about you give those compasses up and make this easy on yourselves?
Barlow retorts,
If you think it's that easy, You're underestimating us.
Junior then interjects.
Crew, Lazarus, you know what to do.
Rogue commands.
Haha, you guys already know what's next. Let's morph.
Rogue, Barlow, and Van exclaim.
7 Seas, all aboard.
The three then go into a morphing sequence and wave a pirate flag around their body that manifests into pirate-like pink, red, and blue Power Ranger suits. Rogue says,
7 Seas red.
Barlow says,
7 Seas blue.
Van says,
7 Seas pink.
Rogue, Barlow, and Van in unison declare.
Gathering treasures and standing tall by every measure. Power Rangers, 7 Seas.
Lazarus and a crew of men then charge toward them with their weapons. The three then pull out their weapons. Rogue shouts,
7 Seas cutlasses.
Barlow shouts,
7 Seas blunderbuss.
Van shouts,
7 Seas blade.
Lazarus then grabs his sword again and retorts,
I'll take on the blue one, while you two take on the rest.
Back on the Orion, Deimos boards the ship and looks around, only to be greeted by Gallico and Daria with guns in their hands. Gallico says,
I don't know what you're looking for, but I suggest you turn around.
And Daria adds,
Darling, turn around. I don't want you to have to get hurt today.
Deimos then laughs, moves his hands, and red blasts erupt from his hands and destroy their guns. Gallico asks,
What the hell are you?
And Daria adds,
Honey, I think it's time we run.
Gallico replies,
You're right.
And they run. Deimos then says,
It ain't no fun when they run.
He then chases after on the ship. As Gallico and Daria enter the lower deck, Daria asks,
What are you doing?
Gallico answers,
I'm giving him what he wants.
And Daria replies,
You can't.
Gallico replies,
I've got an idea.
And Deimos retorts,
There ain't nowhere to run.
Gallico then grasps the chest tighter and exclaims,
You won't get this chest over my dead body.
Next, Deimos says,
Well, that's okay with me.
And he lets off an energy blast from his hands, and Gallico uses the chest as a shield. Afterward, a wave of energy then erupts from the chest and knocks Deimos into the air, while the two compasses then float in the air and fly off. Gallico says,
I didn't expect it to happen.
And Daria adds,
Yeah, where are they going?
Gallico then wraps his arms around her and answers,
Hopefully to get some help.
The Rangers are fighting off the crew and Lazarus back on the island. Lazarus says,
I hear you're the best marksman in the sea.
Barlow retorts,
My skills aren't to be tested. You'd be a fool to think they're lying.
And Lazarus retorts,
Let's see what the best marksman does against the best swordsman in the sea.
Barlow then shoots his gun, and Lazarus barely catches the bullet with his sword. Lazarus says,
Finally, an opponent that matches my skill.
While readying his gun for another shot, Barlow proclaims,
Let's see how long that excitement lasts.
In the meantime, Van and Rogue are taking down some of Junior's crew side by side. Van says,
You're gonna have to do more than this to take us down.
Junior then flips him off, replies,
With pleasure, Pinky.
And throws a metal ball in the air that manifests into meteors. Rogue then says,
Kid, you've got to learn when to brag.
And Van retorts while pointing at the compass on his belt.
With these, I would take us over anyone.
Avis says,
We gotta help them.
And Rose says,
What the hell do you think we're going to do? We're not Power Rangers.
Avis argues,
I'm not going to watch them get killed.
and from out of nowhere, the 2 7 searchers then fly in front of them. Rose, distracted by the glow of them, asks,
"What are those?"
Junior scoffs at her and replies,
"Those are the 7 searchers! I must have them!"
And Junior then runs towards them, but the compasses spin around Rose and Avis. Avis asks,
"What's going on?"
While on the other side of the island, Van says,
"Captain Rogue, look!"
And Rogue retorts,
"They can't be."
Meanwhile, as Barlow is holding off Lazarus, he says in his head,
"It appears they are."
Following everyone's amazement, the compasses finish spinning around them. They manifest into pirate-like light green and violet Power Rangers suits. Avis retorts,
"I guess you were wrong. We are Power Rangers."
And Rose says,
"I certainly feel powerful. I can feel the energy surging through me."
Steaming with anger, Junior exclaims,
"This is blasphemy! That power's supposed to be ours!" "Well, if my family can't have it, no one will!"
Avis then replies,
"Serves you right."
Seconds later, Junior furiously pulls out his gun and loads it. Barlow then looks over at them and commands,
"Summon your weapons before he does his first. Touch the compass on your belts."
The 2 then touch their belts, and weapons manifest in their hands. Avis shouts,
7 Seas daggers.
And Rose follows her and says,
7 Seas pistol!
Following that, Junior is charging towards them, shooting the 2 as they dodge the blasts, and then Avis slashes Junior while Rose blasts him with her pistol. The attacks cause Junior to stumble and say,
"Ugh, damn it."
Avis asks,
"Have you had enough?"
As he falls to the ground. Junior replies,
"For now, Rangers. Lazarus, let the crew and the Matoids handle them."
And commands. Lazarus answers,
"Okay,"
as he kicks Barlow back and says,
"I hope we meet again, Blue Ranger."
Lazarus then runs over and carries Junior away. Rose then runs and shoots down the Matiods as they charge toward her, and Avis takes members of the crew out with her daggers. Van says,
"Welcome to the crew."
And Avis proclaims,
"We're not a part of your crew. We're just helping you guys out."
Rogue replies,
"We had this. We didn't need you guys."
Avis, reassured, retorts,
"That's not how it was looking from my view."
And Barlow interjects and exclaims,
"Can you 2 stop arguing and help us take the rest of his crew out?"
The 2 then stop, and they jump back along with the other of the crew to create space, and Rogue commands,
"Follow us."
Avis replies,
"Whatever."
And they all then power up their weapons for a final attack, and everybody yells,
7 Seas Blitz!
Their weapons then light up and let off blasts from them and destroy the rest of the crew. Afterward, Rogue says,
"Our voyage here is finished. Let's get on the Orion and head to the next one."
And Van replies,
"Yes, Captain."
While Barlow retorts,
"We can't just leave these ladies here with these compasses. The Black Skull Gang would come after them too."
Rose then adds,
"We're better off joining your crew than staying here."
And Avis shoots back,
"Rose, what are you thinking? What these guys do are dangerous, and they have prices on their heads, most likely."
Rose then stands in between everyone and proclaims,
"Now that these things have chosen us, we are targets too, Avis. I'm not saying to trust these guys, but we're going to need them if those goons show up again."
Avis then says,
"Fine, but I'm not going to let my guard down."
Rogue then retorts,
"There won't be a need for that, because you're not going to be a part of our crew."
Barlow then cuts him off and says,
Ladies, we would love to have you a part of our gang. We've been trying to recruit new people in our crew anyways.
Rogue retorts,
You think I'm going to deal with the big mouth being a part of what we got going on?
Barlow then argues,
You're going to have to. You already know, once a compass chooses someone, it's a permanent thing. And I'd rather have them with us than against us. And you know that's true.
Rogue then nods his head and unethically says,
Welcome to the crew, ladies. My name is Rogue, and I'm the captain. And to the right of me, you have my partner in crime, Barlow, and to my left, you have Van.
Van is jealous, then retorts,
Hey, how come they don't have to go through initiation?
And Rogue says,
Kid, it's a bit too late for that. The compasses have already chosen them.
And Rose asks,
So, do you guys have any roles or anything in your group?
Avis then demands,
Go on. Tell us what they are.
And Rogue, aggravated, answers,
We live by the pirate rules. There are no rules.
Barlow, while handing them jackets like Van's in their respective colors, joins in and mutters,
Ladies, we've got a lot to explain to you.
Meanwhile, from a distance, two hooded figures, unbeknownst to them, look over the scene. One of them peeks out, wearing a white hoodie with a Time Force logo on it, and says,
Things are looking good here. Looks like everything is going just as planned.
And the other man, sporting a Scion hoodie with the same logo, retorts, I wonder how long it will take before we have to fix things. Well, the ship is departing. 3 months later, on the Black Skull Gang's ship, Sybil says,
Your dad is unconscious, but he's still breathing.
Junior exclaims,
I'm glad he is, Mother, but we haven't managed to get our hands on those compasses. We've tried everything.
And Sybil, with tears in her eyes, replies,
Son, I don't know if he will ever wake up.
Junior retorts,
No, don't say that. We will get those compasses and make those rangers crumble at our feet.
And he commands,
It's only a matter of time, Mother. Until then, stay by Father's side. I'll handle those pesky rangers.
And a ship then approaches them, and Seamus walks onto their boat and says,
I heard you were looking for those compasses the Redbeard Gang have. Let's just say a source of mine has discovered one of the colonies not too far from here.
Junior retorts,
With the rangers having 5 plus fathers, that means you found the lost compass.
Seamus then replies,
Aye, it's in the red bed, deep in the forest protected by those Astesians.
Junior then grabs him by the collar and yells,
The Astesians? One of the toughest and deadliest tribes in all the 7 seas? That's a damn suicide mission. Not even pirates dare to test them.
Lazarus then lifts his sword and exclaims,
We broke out of one of the most impenetrable prisons and live to tell about it. I'm not saying it will be easy, but after achieving that, nothing can deter us.
And Junior asks,
Are you sure, Lazarus?
Afterward, Lazarus then nods his head and answers,
You already know what my response will be.
Seamus smiles with glee as Junior lets go of his shirt and Junior says,
All right, we'll go along with your plan. But if there's even the tiniest feeling you're setting us up, I will have Lazarus cut you down. Set a course for the Red Bay, and we will make sure nothing will stand in our way. Not the Astesians, not the Royal Navy, and especially not the Power Rangers.
Pirates morph as Power Rangers, we unite, sailing through the ocean, spreading pirate delight. these swinging moves and the Zords to command. We the pirate heroes protecting our land. Understand? To fight against evil on land and sea. With our new powers, we surely will succeed. It's easy to see, battling monsters and villains alike. With swords and guns we fight day and night, taking the 7 seas. All in the name of victory. It's about to be Pirate Rangers, a force to be reckoned with. We the best at this, so give us your treasure. It's our pleasure to win by any measure. Turn diamond from the pressure, and now we shine. Traveling the world until we find. Even though we ask, see, we still gotta grind. Facing reality of time, conquering the sea is the only thing it's meant to be.
Feed you